was everything to me. But they took her. And with her, they took my kindness and my mercy. That was their mistake. Because now, all I've got left is a cold heart. They thrive on doubt. They feast on fear. These wretched abominations blight this world, and every last one of them will perish by my hand.
Hello lore heads, and welcome to The League, exploring the League of Legends lore from A to Z. My name is Rebecca.
And I'm John.
My name is Mark.
And today we're talking about the Purifier Lucian, who was released August 22nd, 2013.
Yeah.
He's about to turn 9. It's bad shit. Yeah.
About to hit the double digits, man.
I know.
God, I remember like these. I think this was definitely, I was at right by this point, and this was one of the first like champion releases that I really remember like getting teased out. Like I remember they showed, because we would do these show and tells, and it was like in a little, it's like in a little cafeteria auditorium, I guess. I don't know how you describe that room exactly, where they would show stuff that's coming up to the company, and they showed his login screen to like cap the whole thing off. It's so, oh my god,
it's so fucking cool.
It is still my favorite login screen that has ever been done. It is, aside from Welcome to Planet Earth or maybe Tide, it is my favorite song that has ever been released.
Right.
By Riot.
It is fucking top tier all around.
It's so good. I listen to it consistently. I would say about once a year, I go and I watch that login screen. I'm not even exaggerating. God. It's just so good. If you've never seen it, please just Lucian login screen. I think I'm going to open this episode up with the login screen version, actually. So there's the little
with the animation
with the monologue.
Yeah.
Well, no, I can't do the animation,
yeah.
but the monologue at the beginning. I feel like this was the first champion that his lore was like really highlighted with his release, or it might have been one of the first. It was the first I remember.
I mean, it was certainly the first that I remember where it was highlighted in the login screen.
Oh yeah.
And I think this may have been one of the first like big collaborations with an outside artist for a login screen too, because they got Crystal Method to for this theme.
What a fucking pick, man.
Yeah.
I guess that's something I really like about League and Riot in general, is that they will just step out of like maybe like a comfort zone almost. They're like, yeah, we're gonna make a fucking electronic fucking banger. Go get the Crystal Method to come in, and just like, and you see it in their other musical projects for sure. And it's like, man, what a fucking, like, plant your fucking flag, right?
Right. They always know.
And they popped up at Worlds that year, as well. The opening ceremony for Worlds, and I think, was this season 3? I think it was season 3.
I think so, yeah.
I feel like this was the first like big opening ceremony they did, and still comparatively it's not as big as what they do now, but season 1 there was probably not anything. I wasn't there for season 1.
No, season 1 was fake.
It was a very young looking Riv.
That was a dream hack.
Yeah.
We didn't even have our own tournament season 1.
And then season 2 they had an orchestra play the League of Legends theme, which was a very big deal. But then this season it was like a concert beforehand with like animation on the walls, more things that they do now. It was really cool.
It was very awesome.
Hell yeah.
And didn't they get the bassist from Limp Bizkit also performing with Crystal Method on one of that?
I never
known
that.
I remember. Yes, you unlocked like a core memory of that fucking. It's like a stand-up like slap bass. It's like, it's not, or does he have like a full? God, maybe I'm thinking of something else, but goddamn, yeah, I do remember him.
Who the fuck
for sure.
recognizes a bassist in any band, but let alone Limp Bizkit?
Remember him? He really stuck out in the performance. I guess because it's mostly the Crystal Method guys just doing their DJ shit, and then there's like this bassist. It's like he sticks out. If I remember.
Yeah. Well, we were excited either way.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you haven't seen it, and even just listen to like the music, obviously awesome, but I would actually watch the login screen because like the animation synced up to the narration, and then you know, the lamp disappearing into the guns firing. So fucking cool.
Yeah. I mean, they were all like these small animations, and he got a lot more. And then just like his still image of, or not the still image, but the image of just the gunshots lighting up various parts of the screen. It's just so beautiful. It's so good. Lucian has a shit ton of lore, but we had to talk about his release for a second.
But I think you're right.
His release, yeah.
Because what you originally said about it was like they highlighted the lore, and like I think that's a really important thing. And I feel like it was maybe also one of the newer at the times, like they were developing like a narrative and a relationship between him and another champion, Thresh, right? So it's like, and I feel like, you know, I know they have conflicts before, but I feel like this was one that felt very like maybe dynamic or like organic or new, and it just like to put that at the forefront of like this is what this champion's about. It's very cool.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It didn't feel like they were trying to force write it after, you know, which is kind of what they did with a lot of lore, it feels like. No, like they made Lucian with the intention of this lore event, and then Senna as well, which she was hinted for a while too, until we were like, are we getting Lucian's wife? She can come out at fucking Lantern? Because it's in his bio, which we'll go over in a second.
Bringing her snacks in there? How's she doing?
But yeah, that was cool. Yeah, on his universe page, he has a bio, the video, the climb, and 4 short, quote-unquote, stories. Several of them are pretty long. I would say 3 of the 4 are fairly lengthy.
Yes.
His color story is pretty short, but... And then I think there's a shit ton more that John also found.
Yeah.
Also, I forgot to write a bonus quote for you today.
Oh, yeah, I didn't... Oh, God, I didn't think...
Well, if you remember, I was gonna say, if you just think about the login screen, you'll get a few of them.
That's right. He's got a few in there.
I will say, so I think you mentioned it
to me. Yeah.
in the Kog'Maw episode, because the original VO was the Cog VO and the Renekton guy as well.
Yeah.
The thing is, I played a lot of Lucian, but I played him with that VO, so that's what's in my head. So I don't really know what he sounds like these days. It was interesting to go and listen to his, because he's got a million quotes now.
I'm curious.
Yeah, it's definitely different. But I'm not able to like remember that new one because the old one's so firmly like branded into the part of my brain that remembers League of Legends, you know. But hey, he's just like, keep moving on. Oh, that's it.
Some just need a little help.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that line.
Yeah.
So my quote is, after Senna turns into a wraith. That you, Senna? Is this about me not making the bed again?
I did think
Why
it was
have
funny.
we never Lucian Senna bot lane? We should.
Right.
That would be really fun,
Oh,
actually.
you'll never have. Oh yeah, for sure.
No, we've done Zyra Khan.
Khan.
Yeah.
We'll have to, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I already went, but it got overwritten by an actual quote. So
I'm sorry. You were great.
No, yeah,
I'll
I'll
mute
take
myself.
it. Yeah. No, I think we good on him.
Yeah, I think
Let's
so.
take us through the bio.
All right. Lucian was a normal boy in Demacia. His father, can someone help me with this pronunciation? Urias?
Urias. That's how I read
Yeah,
it.
sounds right.
Urias, okay. Urias was a Sentinel of Light. Lucian's mother, nowhere to be found. Not mentioned. Who cares? I just found that really stark. Like, they don't even bring her up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, anyway. Lucian
He was
wants to
born
be...
with the first breath of creation, so he doesn't actually have a...
I think he's one of the few that wasn't, John. Come on, be excited. Although I did wonder... Okay, never mind. We'll get to it. But anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, Lucian wants to be just like his dad, but dad is like, no way. So Lucian has to stay in Demacia while his dad went off and battled mist monsters. Lucian started to guide mages out of Demacia when they were banished, which this is what made me wonder, like, is Lucian older? Because, like, they eventually started imprisoning mages, yes?
Maybe he like left like the day that happened. He just happened. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Maybe.
Well, because they were banishing them to like their own neighborhoods for a while, which is why it was
Okay.
why it was so easy for the mage seekers to round them up.
All right.
when that flip got switched.
Sure.
Switch
Got flipped.
Well,
I switched my flips. I don't know about you.
I saw that, like, confusion in your eyes as he said it. It's really good. Anyway, one day Lucian comes home and he finds Senna. She has Lucian's father's weapon, says that he's dead, and she's also his apprentice, which kind of shocked him because that's the job he wanted. Lucian's super jelly, but convinces Senna to let him come to the vigil for lost Sentinels, which is what they do to, I guess, bury Sentinels. So after the vigil, they're attacked by wraiths from the mist. Senna attracts them, I guess. So, yeah, they fight them. Lucian fires his dad's gun to help defeat them, and because he is, like, uninitiated, this is very impressive. So Senna decides he should also be a Sentinel. As she trains him, they fall in love. And Lucian decides he wants to find a cure for Senna's, like, mist disease. And that leads them to fighting Thresh one day, who kills Senna because Lucian was too manly to run away from a fight. Lucian roamed Runeterra, all pissed off for a while he decides to find Thresh and break the lantern to free Senna's soul. But when he finally does, he just releases Senna instead. And now she's got a new mission. We all know what it is. It's already over. She did her mission. I'm assuming that a lot of this was changed and added because Senna... We didn't know Senna was going to come out of the lantern. Like, I think the way it ended originally is he's pissed off trying to find Thresh. The end?
Probably. I didn't look
there was
at
a
the
lot
old
they
lore, I'll be
changed.
honest.
Okay.
I should have, but there was already so much regular lore. I can barely keep it in my brain.
Yeah. Was Senna named? I don't remember.
Yeah.
I felt like she had a name because I thought he said it in quotes, like in games sometimes. And stuff.
Yeah, like he would one of his old quotes. I'm sure one of the new ones, it's like they still use it.
Yeah.
So, hot tip for fathers out there. If you don't want your son to follow in your footsteps, don't come home with cool-sounding stories about your job.
It's true. He, like, sat his son down and he's like, guess what fucking great shit I did? I got so many ladies on my arm. I'm the best. You're not allowed to do this.
Yeah, it does seem like they use the word like he regales him.
Yeah.
I like the idea that he's like bullying him. It's like, Dad, can I just go to bed? It's like, no, you got 3 more hours. You gotta listen to this awesome shit.
Can you teach me how to shoot? No, nerd. Read a book. Okay.
You can watch me shoot. Yeah. Yeah, right. It's a little... I guess the thing about the dad stuff is, like, this is kind of a long bio, and I feel like a lot of that stuff is not terribly impactful to, like, Lucian in any of the other stuff. Like, it feels like maybe a little unnecessary detail.
Yeah, I wish they trailed off with it more, because I think the significance of him... He has 2 guns, and one of them his father's, and the other is his wife, and he lost them both. And I like that idea that he's fighting with the guns of 2 of his loved ones who he lost. But we don't really feel his dad's death or anything like that much later. There is a short story where he's trying to help a woman find her father's dead body, and I almost wish there was more of a connection there. They kind of make it like he understands losing loved ones, but I really like him reflecting on his own father and how he wasn't there when he died and things like that. That would have made so much more sense.
Agreed. Yeah. I think they got... I mean, we'll talk about it when we do that one, but almost they got a little too caught up with the one kind of metaphor they might have been going for and kind of missed a little bit of this one.
Yeah, I agree. It's such a long story, too. Like, I don't want to suggest things to add to it, but I don't understand why that connection wasn't made. Yeah. I
was just going to say, the reason I mention this is because it feels like they spent a lot of time with it.
Yeah.
You know? And if it got referenced later, that maybe that would feel more appropriate or better. But for now, it's like a little, I don't know, meander, you know? I don't know what the exact wording is, but...
It's just kind of like erased. Like, I get that Senna became more important to him and everything like that, but you would think that both those losses would have such an effect on who he is.
Erased?
You okay?
Thank you, folks. Tip your waiters.
Need some ibuprofen after that one?
Whew, man.
Oh, God.
It's really like slow dawning realization of what you just said.
It was like, I thought you were just saying erase stupidly.
Yeah.
Is he having a stroke? Erase your ace, just the bottom butter.
Silly old bibbly old bear.
Oh, man.
So, a few things I liked about this story. One, I like when Lucian first fires his gun. It does specify, like, Lucian fired the pistol, which distracted the ghoul and for enough time that Senna could deal with it. It
makes sense.
It reminded me so much of Action's final shots in the big Absolution cinematic.
Oh, yeah.
Pew, pew, tink, tink.
Oh, that's great.
They connected harmlessly. Yeah.
I also just, like, I have such a hard time imagining Senna fighting with a pistol now. I can't even imagine it.
Yeah.
What did you do with their other hand?
What did he do with? They held hands. That's what they did.
Another interesting thing that when he lived in Demacia and he saw the mage seekers kind of taking away the mages, he judged them really harshly for like, I can't believe they could see the world so black and white when there's so many shades of nuance. And then after losing Senna, it makes like a specific point too of like, he now sees the world in black and white. Just like the mage seekers, but obviously better than the mage seekers because his black and white is a lot easier, I think, to see. There are literal undead ghouls. It's kind of easier to draw the line between.
Literally hell smoke that just like slaughters everything brutally in its path. Very
fucking
different.
Hellraiser shit's happening on the regs.
Like constantly.
Yeah, I don't know. I like some of the Demacia stuff because I think when we look at the stories, there's a good kind of signposting of where he's at, maybe emotionally, when it comes to how he deals with like innocence and treats them, right? And that's his starting point, right? Is he's going out of his way to help people in a very downtrodden position. And I think you could just excise that second part, and we can just see that happen as he changes and how he treats people, right? Like going from that to his color story even should be a big like, hey, something's changed with this fucking character, So.
Something I'm interested in, because they do also mention that when Senna got taken, they were scouring for like a magical artifact in a vault, and that's when Thresh attacks them and gets them. I'm curious if this is actually Thresh's vault that we get to visit in the Ruined King game.
It's a good question. I was curious because I was curious to see, like, did that actually happen on the Shadow Isles? Was it somewhere else? And they didn't make explicit mention, but if Thresh is there, it's probably his vault, right?
I like to think so. I've been there.
You're reading the story. I've been there.
Hey,
pretty cool.
Neato.
It was a fun fight.
I love the Yelp review. It's a little too cold.
0 out of 10.
Right.
Slightly chilly. Needed a pullover.
Get a response from Thresh. It's just like an angry screed.
I will slay you.
Oh, man.
Really?
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, I was keeping a counter on this one. So in Lucian's bio, we see them challenge Thresh, and Lucian tries to 1v1 him basically and fails.
I mean, what a shit AD carry can't 1v1 the Thresh.
Right, come on.
And then Senna has to come and rescue him. And I'm going to keep track of how many times specifically that happens, where he tries to 1v1 Thresh, and then Senna in some way has to come rescue him. It happens in almost all of his stories.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
At least one.
Yeah, I can explicitly think of one. Yeah. Well, I'll be curious to see what that count gets to as we progress through all this lore.
I thought about counting how many times he refuses to acknowledge Senna's name in like the narration, but like ever since she got taken,
that would be a good
she
one.
would never fail this, and I'm like, just say her fucking name. We know who you're talking about.
Who could it be? Could be LeBlanc.
And it's always italicized, right? LeBlanc would never let this happen.
Maybe that's his affectionate nickname for her.
She. Yeah. Come here, she.
Yeah.
Please don't ever call me that as an affectionate nickname, John.
All right.
I saw the spark just die in John's eyes. It's like, I got it.
He was so ready.
Now what am I going to do?
All right. I didn't have too much else for the bio. Like I said, it's a little long. I feel like maybe it could focus a little more on stuff. It's hard too because he's a character who's kind of gone through a lot of story progression relative to a lot of other characters. So trying to get that all in 1,000 words is like sometimes you just gotta put it all on the page. You know what I mean?
It made me a little disappointed that he never like stayed in Demacia, because I would honestly love to see Demacia with Lucian there presently and how he would have handled all of that shit and how the mages were eventually treated and everything like that. That would have been interesting. I think he would have been a very big advocate for the mages, you know?
Yeah, especially given how he reacted to the, in the Hunter in the Shadows, or not the Hunter in the Shadows, the Homebound story, how he reacted to the priest. Like, it's clear that, like,
oh, yeah.
If he sees shit going down that he doesn't appreciate, like, you don't have to be undead.
He'll kill you.
You're gonna fucking, you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly would be curious. You know what would have been really nice would have been to have seen him very early in his hunt of Thresh and interact with that, and then bring him back with Senna way late. I guess, they did, but they didn't ever capitalize on it in Rise of the Sentinels, right?
Yeah.
But using that as, like,
course.
again, you can see the way the character has changed in the way they interact with those situations differently. That could be a lot of fun for sure. Getting us into his brain some more in that way.
All right. On to one of the many short stories.
Yeah, I tried to write them down in what I was pretty sure was
like a chronological
order.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah, that's
okay.
how I had to organize it too. Because when you start, I think they're in reverse chronological on the page.
I think
which
they
is
are, which was confusing.
It's a confusing, shitty way to read a character. So don't do it.
Luckily, we already, I think, knew most about Lucian that, we could have. But yeah.
Right. So I think, and you can tell me your read on this, I think the first one in chronological would probably be Hunter of the Shadows.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe there's a Shadows and Reflections teaser piece. I don't know if you were including that on your timeline.
Right. I put it kind of like last because that was also like I wasn't 100% sure if that was fully canon, since that was like release stuff.
Yeah, right. Like we'll put that in the big maybe pile or whatever is canon. But I think Hunter of Shadows, which is his color story. I can get us through most of these since I'm sure he's got a ton of AU shit too with Cyberpunk, etc. But this is by
stories.
This is by our boy Anthony Reynolds. Future writer
Did we say who the bio did, by the way?
No, I didn't have a credit on that.
By Devin
Gill.
Yeah, nice. This is a pretty straightforward little color piece, but did it say that this takes place in the Shadow Isles? This is kind of like a nameless place that's being harrowed, right? I assume.
Right, I assumed it wasn't the Shadow Isles because
there's people there.
I feel like there's no like people there, right?
You're probably right, yeah. Anyway, it's some harrowing type thing. A harrowing adjacent event is happening in some nameless town, and Lucian is fighting off some ghouls in an inn. And it kind of opens with him, finishing them off, and he starts like taking a breather, and a little girl kind of pops up. And I guess he's very cold to her. He doesn't really seem to like try to help her in this crazy, shitty situation. Big ghoul pops up, throws him across the room, and he loses his guns. And the little girl picks one up, but can't use it. And he has a little flashback to the first time. Maybe not the first time, but when he was kind of into his early training with Senna, manages to get kind of come back to reality, grab a hold of the guns, kill off the ghoul, and then he kind of leaves it by just like telling the little girl like, oh, bar the door and hope you make it to sunrise, and then he just kind of fucks off.
Good luck, have fun.
He also comes off
GG kid,
right? Pretty much, which is like, if we look at how Lucian has changed, he's very low now because like he's a little kid. He's like, oh, best of fucking luck. He also comes off a little crazy at the end, which I kind of liked, where he's like talking to himself a little bit, like as if he's talking to Senna, and the little girl's like, he's like mumbling to himself. And then he starts to hear like chains in the distance, and the little girl doesn't hear it, so like maybe that's a little bit of like a hallucination or something that Thresh is doing to him. But he comes off weird a little bit at the end, and I kind of liked it.
I loved thinking that like Thresh is the crocodile to Lucian's hook. Always hearing the clank.
Someone please draw me that. Please draw.
Who's Smee? Is it Senna or? No, it'll be
that to her.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
Shmee, Gwen, maybe.
Rookie.
Rookie is Shmee.
It's just a silhouette with a big question mark drawn on it.
Your face
question
here.
Mark thing on her face.
Oh man.
All right. So this story contradicts the bio a little bit because Yeah, Lucian has this flashback of trying to use his gun and being like, "There's no trigger," and she's like, "You just gotta feel it in your heart, the heart of the cards." So,
but he's already gun fired.
But he's already fired it. That was a big part of his bio, was that he picked up the gun and just fired it. I could see it like being explained that he maybe picked it up and in his head pull the trigger because he was just acting on instinct, and then it worked.
Didn't even know what had actually happened.
Yeah, didn't even realize, which I could see that. But
now,
yeah,
I will say the whole shooting on instinct thing, part of his bio is new lore, not part of his original bio.
Okay.
So it's entirely possible
these are
bio came out, Hunters in the Shadows, and then there was the rewrite of the bio.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Screwed our boy Anthony.
It wasn't your fault, Anthony. I wasn't blaming you.
No, it's not the biggest deal in the world. I actually wish we got a little more of this, and maybe this or other stories of like what they were like. It's like the high, like when things were really nice, right? Like it would be nice to see a little bit more of that relationship, and then again we can kind of see and compare and contrast how the relationship has changed as a result of these events. But I like the little bit here, even, you know, for a color story, right? It's mostly the calm bits between action. It's like bookended by a little bit of action. So
yeah.
Now, next up, I'm pretty sure Shadow and Fortune, Graham McNeil.
Yeah, for sure. There was one thing I wanted to get to before we moved on, which is that there's a line here. Anthony knew what was up, where there's a line in here that said, blah, 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 repeating the mantras he and Senna had been taught to close themselves off from emotion. Only then could he reach a place of equilibrium that would allow him to face deathly horrors, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I love it. He knew exactly what was fucking going on. Nice little nod to the classic Equilibrium from, like, I don't know, when did that movie come out?
Fucking like 99 or some
99?
shit. Or maybe like 2000. No, actually, it was probably...
I think it was early 2000s.
I'm going to guess 2000 and...
Whenever after The Matrix is.
2001.
Yeah, it was...
That's going to be my guess.
It had that Matrix influence for sure, but
you know
was
what?
not nearly as good as The Matrix.
It might be solid 2000.
Maybe. Regardless, if you haven't seen it...
Now I'm trying to figure out how to spell it. Hang on.
There's a Q in it.
Oh, well, yeah, I messed up. That was a typo. 2002.
Yeah. But yeah, you haven't seen it. Highly recommend it. Tons of fun. It's kind of bad, and by kind of I mean Barry, but it's also kind of great.
But they like invented a martial art form for this movie, and I'll always appreciate that.
I didn't love it, but
yeah. Which he does. I mean, speaking of which, the obvious, the obvious parallels between Equilibrium and this. His backing animation is just straight up the Equilibrium gun kata. So.
Yes. Yeah. If you like Lucian's aesthetic, you'll like Equilibrium.
Yeah. Also, that quote that you mentioned comes up again in Senna's story. So that does, like, the mantra that they chanted to themselves. She also chants it to herself to keep grounded. It was a nice touch.
Yeah, I like that consistency for sure. But cool. We want to hop into Shadow and Fortune by Graham McNeil.
So we touched on this a little bit with Misfortune. This is like a few different people's stories, yeah?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, this is Misfortune, Lucian, and Olaf, and,
Alawi
featuring Alawi.
She's the Kramer to the main three that this Seinfeld episode is. You got your A, B, and C plots, and they all wrap up at the end in a way you never expected. But
I feel like Hecarim is the Kramer in this one because he just kicks down the door. Everybody starts applauding.
Oh man, I love it. That's really good.
These are some real millennial references we're throwing out today, I want to say.
I mean, he's kind of that way though in his design, right? Like, so let's go full.
Like Kramer?
No, no, Lucian.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like they really thought about Kramer when they were making.
Yeah, that was his production name.
Spooky Kramer. Yeah,
four-legged Kramer.
Spooky Kramer.
Kramer.
Oh, okay, that was pretty good.
Like All right, anyway. To talk about.
Shadow and Fortune.
Yeah, so like we were talking about, follows a lot of characters. For Lucian's part, he actually does get the opening piece where he sees one of the gangs, because gang wars kind of erupted after Misfortune has knocked out Gangplank. He sees one of the gang members who's been killed, and kind of killed. They roughed him up and strung him up by his jaw from a hook, and realizes the guy's alive. So he kills him in a very brutal way in that he takes like the gun and just stabs it through him. He doesn't shoot him or anything.
Shoot him in the head, Lucian. What the fuck?
Which we do see immediately after this works totally because 6 other this rival gang comes up to kind of kill him and rob him, and he just blows him away. So
right. I thought at first I can see that he's probably trying to be stealthy, doesn't want to draw attention. But then those other 6 come, and then it also says that, like, he knew they were there the whole time because they were loud. So, like, he knew he was already just, yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
Didn't want to waste the spirit ammo, I guess.
It really hurts to get shot by these things. You understand? It's like a million years of pain. Anyway, so the night goes on. Other people are having their various adventures. Now, eventually he links up with Misfortune. I think, had he met Thresh before then? You're going to have to help me a little bit with some of the details on this one. Had he seen Thresh at all in this before then, or was it Misfortune who ran into him? I don't remember.
Yeah, Misfortune first. I don't think he had run into Thresh quite yet.
Yeah.
But he probably knew he was there because, you know, the jingling of chains.
Thresh has got like a cat bell on. He fucking is so loud all the time.
Well, he keeps getting lost. But, yeah, eventually he links up with Misfortune's like survivor band, kind of helps lead them through the city, but then he does see Thresh, and so he breaks off from them. They go to do their own thing. Again, he's not really, you know, if we're looking at how he's treating people, he's not like really helping them or anything like that. He's just doing his own thing and happens to be killing wraiths around them. He sees Thresh, and they go have a big confrontation on like a big bridge. And he's trying to shoot at Thresh, and Thresh has his lantern, and he's giving himself the shield. And this is when Lucian, we kind of realizes that Senna's not dead. The whole, like, his understanding was that she had died and was 100% dead. So, and what he learns instead here is that her soul is at least alive and trapped in Thresh's spirit, undergoing torture permanently, constantly. So shit's really bad, and it kind of like has an emotional breakdown, I guess we would say, and that he kind of stops fighting. He drops his guns, and Thresh gets ready to go all Hellraiser on him. And in that moment, Senna kind of connects with him and like tells him to, I don't know, she gives him a little ego boost. I don't know exactly what her words
You can do it, babe.
Yeah, all right. Love.
Thanks, she.
This will be number 2, by the way.
Yeah. Ding, put it on the board. So he picks up, I think this is like, maybe this is why they had him stab that guy, just so they get established that you can stab things with these weapons, right? Because doesn't he kind of like does he stab the lantern here too? Or does he shoot it?
It was not clear to me,
the
to be
details of
honest.
it, yeah. He jams something into something.
Oh, so they mentioned, okay, so one thing that they had mentioned, I don't think he actually stabbed the dude in the beginning with his gun. It said it was a silver spike.
You're right.
Silver
Sorry.
stake, which stuck out to me because
why does he have that?
Lucian literally enters this fucking story like Blade. They say he's got a silver stake, he's got silver thread, he's got sanctified water. He's straight up fucking Blade at the start of this story.
He kind of is in the other ones where he's got like the grenade that's got like silver in it. And it creates like an area that you can fight in the mist. And he's got like his old blacksmith he's got to go get his grenades and shit from.
Yeah.
Which like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I fucking love it.
Can't go wrong with Blade.
Tell you what. In any case, he does something with this thing, right? It wasn't his gun. It was some other thing that he had. And it weakens Thresh, so now he's able to hit him with his shots. And he does shoot the shit out of him, but Thresh falls off the bridge, burning, and supposedly survives. You know, he kind of just Joker-esque lives to go fight another day, right? And then there's this kind of a denouement at the end where, like, Lucian is kind of talking with Misfortune. She's like, oh, you could help. You know, you help save a lot of people. And he's like, no, I know what I gotta go do. I gotta go. I thought Senna was dead, but she's not, so I'm going to go free her. He also has a very explicit line a little bit earlier about that, too, where he's like, he doesn't even feel the concept of vengeance anymore. It's not about revenge anymore. It's about freeing Senna, which I feel like gets contradicted later on. That's the only reason I mention it. That's mostly it, right?
He has this revelation a few times, I feel like.
Yeah. That's mostly it. If there's anything major I missed, you can tell me. He mostly just, he fights himself. Oh, he fights off Hecarim, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Kramer, you mean?
Yeah,
right.
There's
Sorry.
One line stuck out to me when he was talking about how Senna died, and he was like, wait, she can't still be alive. I buried her. So, like, when she does come back, could she dig up her own body?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that for a long time.
Damn. Which would you think is cooler, if she did and the body was like gone, or like if it was there and it was definitely still there? Which do you like more?
And she had like formed a new body somehow?
Something like that. I don't know.
I don't know.
Or what would it be like to like I kind of like the idea of her digging that thing up and it being there, because that would be
right. Because that would kind of like probably raise the question in Lucian, like how much of Senna are you?
That's something.
Senna's right there, but she.
Yeah. That's something I feel like his quotes hint at more, but they don't really ever do in the stories. Like getting into this idea of like how does he feel about her being part wraith or ghost? Like I could be wrong about Rise of the Sentinels, because to be honest, I didn't go back and look at a lot of that stuff very closely.
I couldn't either.
I couldn't bring myself to. So maybe that comes up there.
It is touched on, but I think it's more touched on from the Senna stories that interact with Lucian, because I think like she makes a special point of mentioning like things are different, like there's a distance between them, and he mentions that like, oh well, I think this is probably actually through the quotes like you were mentioning, but like she's cold now, and probably literally and metaphorically in this, but
and he's a vampire hunter, so it's very confusing for him.
It does say that he struggles a lot with the fact that we talked about it being very black and white for him. Wraiths are bad, and that's clear because they're undead. Real clear line there, but like Senna is half wraith now, and she can turn herself into full wraith by absorbing mist around her. So there's the kind of the clear black and white that he's established through his whole life is now thrown into all sorts of question.
It wasn't his whole life. It was just like the last couple of years or so. It's fine. He can get over it.
He grew up idolizing and wanting to do. Yeah, for sure. I guess, like I said, I didn't feel that a ton from what we had here, but I think that's also because like a lot of that development I would guess is kind of handled in Rise of the Sentinels. I could be wrong, or like I guess I would like to get another story that stepped into that, because I think it could easily be the next progression from dealing with like my big like marquee idea for them is just like, you know, it's all about like this relationship that's had this very traumatic thing happen, and they're like trying, and they've changed as a result, right? And it's like dealing with the fact that like the idea of who they are isn't who they actually are anymore, and figuring that thing out, you know. So
yeah,
you know,
yeah. I never feel like too much of a connection with their romance, or at least not as much as I'd like to. I feel it more in the cinematics, I feel like, than in the stories, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I do like the idea of like having a quieter story where they're trying to get to know each other again. I think that would be really sweet.
Absolutely, right.
Yeah.
Which is probably very tough too, because it's also like, what do you talk about? Before she got sucked up into the lantern, you probably knew each other real well, but now...
And you don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, you don't want to talk about the shit that happened in the lantern.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea for a story, frankly. That would be like the thing that to me would tie Lucian and Senna like both like together in a really good way. I think it's just like it needs that final punctuation piece. You know what I mean?
And I think I could see it waiting until after they dealt with Viego, because they didn't really have time. They kind of made it clear, like, really early that, like, they had this new mission. They have to go fight wraiths. It's all chaotic. They don't have a lot of downtime. So I could see it being after, now that all of the dust has settled from the wonderful event, Rise of the Sentinels. What do they do? Do they try to go on, like, a date, and it's just weird, but then they find a new way to connect? You know, that would be nice.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly,
absolutely.
I feel like very little would have to be tweaked about the redeemed story to fit that.
Yeah,
it's
it's true.
already scratching at that. Like,
Yeah,
it's
it is.
very, very close.
I think the part of the issue is that Redeemed is so much a Senna story that like for the Lucian episode, my eyes like I did glaze over a bit during the big chunk in the middle. That's my bad.
Too in the middle.
But the bits at the start, and maybe the start more than the end even. Definitely that's the case.
Another interesting thing about this story is I'm pretty sure this was the first hinting at an organization like the Sentinels existing.
Yeah, because that shit was not in his bio originally. Those things did not
wasn't
exist.
part of his original bio.
Yeah.
And this was the first thing. The quote was like, he'd learned these were symbols of the native religion, but whoever had carved them had not visited this place in many years. He'd found it by following the secret symbols of his own order, symbols that would guide him to places of refuge and succor in any city of Valoran. Now, it is also worth mentioning there is a later quote in this story that refers to that group as the Reborn Order. So, you know, maybe they hadn't fully locked in on what it was going to be, but...
Keep it nice and vague, you know? That being said, one thing I liked about this as well is that he he kills the one guy at the start, right? And he starts sewing up the eyes and the mouth as a way to, like, so they don't get taken by the mist. I thought that was a really neat little detail, and I wish it was something that got picked up, like, in another story at some point.
Yeah, they mention that he has done it many, many times, but we don't see that again, that idea. Yeah.
A few things about this story that also stood out. Lucian when Thresh pops out, Lucian says, "Thresh moved silently, like all his kind." And I have several cinematics that would say otherwise on that one.
Can they move silently, or do they have to just screech and wail with their chains rattling every
right.
time they move?
Right, this motherfucker is coated in chains. He constantly hears them clinking and clanking fucking everywhere. He's quite
also, this one, you mentioned before that when he's fighting Thresh kind of summons the souls out of the lantern to create a shield for himself, which will be this is kind of the first of two stories where Thresh's in-game shield will be demonstrated to be way stronger than it is in-game.
It's a very small shield in-game. Not that I'm complaining.
Yeah, don't learn how to play Thresh from reading this shit, I guess.
But yeah, that's all I had for Shadow and Fortune.
All right, next one.
Homebound was,
I had Homebound.
Hey, I think we're going to be 1-to-1 on this one.
Nice.
This is kind of like the one that has kind of a turn, I guess, again, for Lucian. He is, we're deep into his hunt for Thresh at this point. This is like even after Shadow and Fortune, so he's been charting Thresh's and the Black Mist's movements all over, and he's at this island, I assume somewhere near Bilgewater, and a harrowing type event is happening, and as he's going through, he's seeing people getting all messed up and hell-razored, and like their skins being flayed off their bones, and he runs into Thresh, and he has confrontation with Thresh, and he is trying to shoot at the lantern. He actually gets a few hits in on the lantern even, but Thresh reacts, and again, like you're talking about, he starts using his E, and he just heals or protects the shit out of himself, and he gets the best of Lucian, and Lucian wakes up. I think he knocks him off a cliff, which is why he doesn't die in that whole confrontation. Lucian wakes up like the next day, and he's all. It's a classic thing where he wakes up, he's all injured. There's no one in the room with him. He's gonna walk out with his bandage and see who saved him. And it's a local named Mira. Is that right?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, and so she is kind of collecting the dead because it's the aftermath of this fucking harrowing shit. And it kind of comes out that the island is split in half, and the people on this side like to take their dead and do one thing with them, and the people on the other side like to burn them and the belief is that, if you burn them, their spirits are going to be gone, right? So it's really like, we don't want our people to be burned. Mira's dad has not shown up from last night. They're still looking for him, and so Lucian kind of starts helping her gather up the dead. They still don't find the dad. Eventually, I'm trying to remember the exact order of it. My notes are very loose. Eventually, what happens is that they deduce that her dad probably washed up on the other side of the island where they're burning all the bodies. So they have to trek over there and go get them. And there's already been a confrontation with these guys once, and they have like this priest who's kind of leading them, and they kind of come to like a tenuous agreement of like, okay, we'll only burn the bodies on our side. You guys can take what's on your side, and we'll leave those alone. Lucian and Mira make the journey over to the other shore. They find her dad. They pull him up with a kind of rope system that they put together with vines, and it's very hard for Lucian and her. They almost drop the body back into the ocean, but together they kind of finally pull him up and they drag him back. And as they're coming back across the river, which is like the natural border, they see that those priest people are burning bodies, and they're burning them on the side that they're not supposed to be doing stuff. And Lucian's ready to go stop them and get into it, but Mira is like, I gotta get my fucking dad back. And so she starts like slowly trying to drag him away. So Lucian kind of, seeing what needs to actually happen, helps her take him back. They prepare the body, and then they they give him a proper burial at sea, essentially, or in the beach, I think is specifically where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, Lucian's kind of ready enough, kind of healed up, ready enough to go, and he's kind of reflecting on, I think the reflection he's kind of having is that every time he's fought Thresh, it's been about trying to free Senna, and that's kind of led to him constantly losing. So maybe if he goes there with the intention of putting her to rest and like getting rid of the idea of saving her, that will give him the wherewithal to win the fight. And he sets sail, ready to step into some cinematics. Right?
Yeah.
It's very long. I'm sorry if I got rambling because it's very long.
And this is right before the climb too, so this is where the cinematic kind of kick off. But
this is by Philip Vargas, by the way. I don't know if it got mentioned.
Oh yeah,
right. And I think this is we talked about him being kind of raw in Hunter of the Shadows. This is the closer to the Lucian that we have now, where he has tried to embrace the positive example that Senna had set. I mean, you mentioned he almost dropped the body into the water because it was so difficult, but at that point he had fully committed to, like, I'm not going to let this body go. If that means I get dragged into the water too, so be it. It would suck, but it's what Senna would have wanted. Luckily that didn't happen, because we wouldn't have gotten any of those cool cinematics.
Thank you, Lucian, for not drowning.
I'm confused on how he's planning to set Senna's soul free without destroying the lantern. I thought him destroying the lantern was his way of setting Senna's soul free, because she's stuck in there.
Yeah, I think that's the part that, I mean, I don't know if it came across in my retelling, but that's where it's like gets a little vague in terms of understanding. Like my issue with it is, like, kind of like you're saying, like, I need to understand the mechanics of, like, why isn't this working? Why is this a problem? Like, preferably shown that he's trying to do one thing, and because he's so hyper focused on that thing, it's causing him to fail. And then, like you asked, what are you going to do instead? What's plan B?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I think over all of these stories, they should have had way less encounters with Thresh. I think him fighting Thresh only a couple of times would have made a lot more sense. And maybe in the past he wasn't aiming for the lantern. He was aiming for Thresh and isn't able to kill him. And then he has this revelation of, like, I need to free Senna. I should just attack his lantern. I don't care what he does to me. I don't care about his flays.
Right.
Just focus on that lantern. And that's what sets Senna free.
Yeah, it'd be good moving from, like, headshots to lantern shots. And show, like, the difference between the rage versus...
Yes. And then Thresh probably would have thought it was really funny that Lucian was trying to shoot him in the head, you know? But then all of a sudden when he aims for a lantern, that's when Thresh is like, oh, fuck, no.
Yeah,
no.
He drops the like, I'm playing.
The taunt.
You're my, yes. Yeah. That would be great. I think the part of the issue is that, like, this and Redeemed are newer pieces that are kind of, I think, built in preparation for Rise of the Sentinels, and the other two older pieces. And I think what y'all mentioned earlier is that, like, he kind of relearns the lesson of, like, oh, I need to drop this idea because it's fucking me up. And they, even in this story, that, like, he plays around with the idea of, like, maybe he wants vengeance. But I feel like in Shadow and Fortune, it's, like, really conclusive that he is not about vengeance anymore. It's like a really big character shift in it. And I think it feels appropriate there in that fight with Thresh, because it feels like there's this giant bilge water. It's very dramatic. The stakes are very high. It feels like everything feels very appropriate to have that kind of showdown. And even if he kind of overcomes in some way, he's still lost in that, oh, fuck, Senna's not dead and she's trapped and I need to go help her right now, right? Like, things are only gotten worse, kind of. And then here it's like, what has changed exactly? Like, this story could work if you kind of pull these four down into, like, maybe three and have that be, like, this where he's at the start, something that's significant causes him to change his perspective, and then the third one where it's like, I don't know. Am I making sense at all? I feel like I'm kind of rambling on this one, but it's like, it feels like there's like a stumble that happened getting into these new pieces. That might be how I would describe it.
Yeah. I remember I was reading it, because I didn't read this one last, but I read the part where Mira's telling him, like, sometimes vengeance isn't the way, you're not going to feel better, stuff like that. And I was like, oh, Lucian knows that by now. And then he's like, maybe Mira's right. And I was like, bitch, I thought you already came to this conclusion.
Yeah. Yeah.
All that being said, I liked the story.
It's a good story.
It's like,
yeah.
It's interesting to get such a long story about Lucian specifically. Like, I feel like a lot of what we get with Lucian is kind of action pieces. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to get such a long story that has a little bit of action, but it's all front loaded, and then have the rest of it be like non-action,
mm-hmm.
like, just searching for a body for a lot of pages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was like a nice reflection piece. It reminded me of that way of, like, the Pantheon piece that we recently got.
Oh yeah, yeah.
With Atreus, like, where the focus was on, like, emotion and the impact that has on people and loss, and I dug this one.
Yeah,
I was really hoping that he would unleash on the fire priests, though. I wanted them gone.
Well, I think it's like you're kind of saying that there's obviously like intention in how this one is written, you know, front loading the action. It was not. I think it was neat to just see the aftermath of a fucking harrowing. It's like, damn, that shit really fucking sucks. They're constantly finding dead people. It's just everyone's fucked. And yeah, those interactions, you can feel the tension, and I think because it's like a League piece, you almost feel like a little like, yeah, at some point he's gonna unleash, or even better, it's like I was like on the way back they're gonna have some confrontation, and then he's gonna unleash, and playing with that and almost kind of being like, let's peel back a little bit to what the character, like, you know, what the conflict is for the character and what this is all a metaphor for, right? You know, it's like, it was neat. It was good. I thought it worked pretty well. It's like, you know, pulling the Urias connection more into this, and maybe I'd be even more down with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also, bonus points anytime you call a vest a jerkin.
Sure. Okay. That is something that plagues me every day.
I feel like they refer to his vest as a jerkin in 2 separate stories, and as a Ren Fair boy, I'm on board.
As a Ren Fair boy, honey, you're Ren Fair man now. Come on.
I'm a merman, father.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
Yeah.
Redeemed.
Okay. Also by Philip Vargas. Okay. So this, like I said, this one's mostly a Senna story. But
we'll try to focus on the Lucian part.
Yeah. The Lucian shows up in the beginning where they're having an interaction. They're trying to figure out where they're going to go next, and they need to go to Bilgewater to get more of those cool ass grenades from the last story. Which, by the way, I didn't mention them, but they're fucking cool. They're like silver grenades, and they blow away the blackness and shit. And there's kind of like a tension between them. You know, they're talking, but it's just from the way it's written, it feels like it's kind of terse, and like they're not having a conversation really, and there's kind of an avoidance between them and the way they interact. Does that sound like right to also read on it? Yeah. And there is a bit too where it seems like Lucian is still kind of like really gung-ho for Thresh, which again feels like maybe something he should have already like learned from some of the other stuff, that he's kind of over Thresh now that Senna's back. But you know, I mean, some characters sometimes fuck shit up, you know, it's fine. And then Senna has like a weird vision dream thing that's like 3/4 of the story. Super all about her and the setup for Isolde and Viego and the rise of the Sentinels. And then at the end she kind of comes out of it, and her and Lucian head off. That's right. I don't remember as much of the end because I feel like what I wrote down for that was pretty minor.
Your eyes had glazed over at that point? Yeah, same.
So, I mean, to clarify too, it wasn't like even a vision. Somehow, and he was actually doing this, Thresh had found some way to just fucking attack her from wherever the hell she was and wherever the hell he was. And
you think he would have done that more often,
right? And and he was using that power, and she was dying, and like in her dying state had that vision, and then you know, learned more about Isolde, and then she and Isolde combined their powers to fight back Thresh's, you know, magic, I guess, to come back. But a few things I liked about this is the story where they reference the mantra again that Senna is now using this time to stay grounded. But also the way this story is told, because I did read through the whole thing, but the way this story is told, we learn a few things. One is that I think my take on being tortured in Thresh's lantern was way more like, I imagined him more like a Cenobite, basically, from Hellraiser, because they always talk about his chains and his flaying and shit. And I imagine that's what it would be inside his lantern too. But she specifically mentions like, no, he doesn't do any of that. His lantern is 100% psychological torture. He knows exactly what'll fuck with you most, and then he makes you see it all the time.
Which we did kind of see in that Ruined King game. Sorry.
Yeah.
Which, you know, nice consistency again.
And then, so when she went into the vision, she thought that she was back in the lantern. And she thought that being rescued by Lucian had all been part of this elaborate torture that Thresh had come up with for her. And like, honestly, up until that point, like, as the reader, you're also not entirely sure if that's maybe what happened. Like, yeah, maybe she is still in this lantern and this story takes place before Lucian rescues her, because it's not quite clear what's real and what isn't at this point. I really liked that aspect of the story. It wasn't until like 3/4 of the way story that I could tell one way or the other, like, is she still getting fucked with, or is she good? We good?
Yeah, I can see that perspective on it for sure. I think that was even why maybe I missed it was Thresh having attacked her, because there's a lot of like repeal, like, you're not in the lantern, this isn't the lantern, you know. So it's like I was down to trust the voice. I was like, it seems like this isn't the lantern, but you know, what do I know, right? Maybe I'm bad at psychological torture.
I've never been in the lantern, I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough too, because the voice, it's also said that the voice for the most part whenever it happened was like in Senna's own voice, so it was just like a voice in her head, like she wasn't hearing Isolde's voice. Like, we know it was Isolde speaking with Senna's voice, but like she doesn't know that.
Yeah,
it could easily be Thresh just fucking with her again. But yeah, I like that a lot. I also got like, so the whole vibe, they mention through a few stories, I think, that Lucian is very obsessed with trying to break this curse that Senna has, where the Black Mist is just always just drawn to her no matter where she goes. That's kind of happened for almost her whole life, and Lucian's really trying to get rid of this, and they mention that he has like tomes and tomes of magical books on their little schooner that they ride around in. It's got magical artifacts, all with the intent purpose of breaking this curse on Senna. And it gave me a huge like corrupted Doctor Strange vibe of just like, I will do any magical shit required to get you back.
You lost me.
Nope. You
Oh, the Marvel thing. In Marvel Doctor Strange?
Yeah.
I was thinking of that old movie, Doctor Strangelove, and
I learned to love
and how I learned to love the bomb. That's where my brain went.
man.
How fucking old am I?
Hey, I mean, it's a good movie. I watched that not too long ago in terms of but yeah, I see what you're talking about for sure. Like, I've not seen Doctor Strange, but I know what the like, I get the idea of what you're describing for sure. And yeah, that's an interesting detail. Like, she would like wake up right in the middle of the night and he would still be there looking over pondering his tomes.
Okie dokes.
And then we have the last one, which, you know,
It's
might be
his
first
page, yeah.
But yeah, this was just kind of his oh wait, no. Okay. I actually have one before Shadows and Reflection. Voice of the Dead. Do you have that one?
Yes, I did read it. It's Senna's color story, right?
Right.
I feel like I did read it, but I feel like not much happened with him. Like, he just there's a little bit of reflection on them, but or on him from her perspective, but for the most part, it's just mostly Senna.
This was another bit that kind of gave us a bit of like their relationship dynamic too. And we also find out that Senna and Lucian, I don't know if this story takes place during the Ruination or like just prior to the Ruination, but we find out that Senna and Lucian actually very frequently encounter Viego as he's raiding catacombs looking for shit that we don't know, which, you know, now we know is probably just tethers. But
whenever I think of like catacombs, I just think about like Skyrim, because you're like constantly in catacombs. I'm just trying to like think about like anime boy Viego with his abs out in like these fucking nasty catacombs.
Fighting just a bunch of Durgar and like ice spiders and shit.
Well, he didn't have his six-pack at this point, I don't think. I think he was more...
He's more like an
corporeal,
idea,
but you could see his face. Like, like they recognized that it was Viego,
sure,
but they were also able to easily beat him.
Okay.
So my guess is he didn't have a six-pack yet, because you can't beat him once he gets the six-pack. That's kind of the secret to his power.
I didn't realize...
all those little buns are full of power.
Right. His six-pack and his, like...
That's what they look like to me. I never really understood abs. They just look like hot cross buns to me.
I didn't realize that they recognized it was Viego. I remember, like, it's like I look at it and like, oh, that's Viego. But I don't remember. I didn't like catch his name getting said probably. Because I was skimming this one, to be fair.
Yeah. But yeah, he's a weenie in this form. So
yeah,
little weenie.
And the last one was Shadows and Reflections, which was the Lucian reveal.
And that's just... This is like, if you're like, I think I was saying, like, if you want to get into Lucian, don't read the bio, read this, and then go in the order that we've gone through them, right? Because that's the bio is kind of like whatever. But this is like, if you wanted to give someone like the little teaser of Lucian, which is what it is, right? It's just like him reflecting, and he's doing the italicized her and she, and some images of the guns. You know, that's mostly it, right?
Yeah. And then he was mentioned in the Chain Warden, which is the Thresh bio, and the Redeemer, which is the Senna bio.
I'm sure.
Which, you know, again contradicts the Redeem story a little bit because
maybe by the time we get to S and T, they'll be fixed.
Yeah, I think like in her bio, she learns about how like life was her curse the whole time.
Oh, that's fucking rude. That's where you met your husband.
But then she has that revelation in her Redeemed story too, and it was like a brand new revelation to her.
Cool.
So she and Lucian have very short-term memories when it comes to their revelations. Yeah.
That's made in heaven, I guess. Can't remember each other. Yeah. I'll be curious to see that when we get to it.
Yeah. Other than that, old lore, I mean, just a lot of the same ideas, just had nothing to do with the Sentinels of Light. They just used to, he and Senna used to just wield relic weapons. Wasn't part of any secret society, didn't have a Sentinel father, didn't get his pistol from his dad, all that's just added.
Yeah. Cool. That's about what I would expect.
All right. Yeah. So cinematics, since he actually has a lot of canon cinematics as opposed to a lot of others.
Yeah, right? They got to get a little diversity in those cinematics, and they don't got a lot of options still.
Yeah. First one, obviously, Lucian the Purifier. We talked about that. That's his login screen. Just go watch it. Then we've got Dark Passage, which is presumably after the events of Homebound, which just shows Lucian heading to the Shadow Isles to confront Thresh.
Right.
Then we've got The Climb. Now on the Shadow Isles, Lucian is fighting his way through hordes of Thresh's minions for the final confrontation. It also has a bunch of other vignettes like Echo and Blitz, Yasuo doing cool stuff, Talia doing cool stuff, Misfortune
almost drowning,
being there.
It's fine. She swam.
Misfortune's there too.
We've got Shadow's Embrace, which is kind of the final confrontation between Lucian and Thresh, where Lucian's getting his ass kicked. Thresh breaks his gun and pulls him close, and then Lucian stabs the shard of the gun into Thresh's lantern, freeing all the souls, including Senna. Senna then pulls her newly crafted relic weapon out and creates a shield to protect Lucian from an attack Thresh is throwing. Then all the souls get sucked back in, but Lucian gives Senna a big huggy hug so she doesn't get pulled back in.
I love this cinematic. This was a big deal. Like, this was a big lore change, like lore story thing.
Yeah.
It was very cool. And I love Senna so much, so getting her reveal was cool. I like the moment where she points her big fucking gun right at Lucian's face, and he's like, oh, fuck, is this not my wife?
Her, like, pulling that thing out of the mist is such a cool, like kind of manifesting
so
it.
Cool.
That whole sequence after that thing breaks is great. Like, I really like, there's something about the way that he's animated where he's injured and he's still, like, got the gun. He's, like, training it on, like, this spirit that's, like, I guess hers. I don't know. It's like, little details, I think, sell it a lot.
Yeah,
that seems great.
And it's got Senna's theme, which is also a song that I really, really love. I love her theme.
Right.
Works very well for the whole
I feel like the
scene.
animation, too, in a lot of Lucian cinematics are, like, some of their highest quality animation are in cinematics with Lucian.
Yeah, I think that's partially because they're doing a very human face, and they have to have I think it's a lot easier to try and get them to emote than it is to have to like have like voice acting that you sync up and then translate, etc. So I'm sure they put a lot of focus into like we need to get this communicated with no dialogue, which is good. I think they've done a really good job with it here, for example. Because I agree that like I kind of like I think some of the emotional beats hit almost for it. And I like that too. It's good.
Yeah.
Wasn't this for the 10th?
For sure.
And didn't they unveil this as part of the big 10-year anniversary? Was that when this originally came out? Am I wrong?
I don't know.
Maybe I'm thinking of some other shit. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah, maybe I'm just thinking
of something. The 10-year anniversary was pretty shortly before the Ruination. We were in like Iceland for that.
Oh, were we?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just misremembering.
Could be wrong though.
Yeah.
Next, we've got the Ruination, where it opens with Senna noting how loose Lucian's housing is on his gun, which makes sense after the last fight we saw.
Yeah,
he breaks his gun a lot. Then the Mist finds Senna, like it does, and they go in and fight. Viego's there and is very fast and strong in Mist.
He's got his hot cross buns now and he's ready.
Yeah, that six pack and dick neck are all the way out.
He's got like raw hot cross buns though, because he's so pale. They're not baked and brown.
hot cross
I'm
dough.
curious if
right?
anyone's Googling hot cross buns after this to see what they look like. And I also want some now, and I'm not even a fan.
Hey, it's spring. They're a good Easter treat.
Right? It's an Easter sweetbread thing, yeah. Okay, anyway.
Anywho, Viego starts pulling Isolde's soul out of Senna and unleashing Ruination on Ionia, Demacia, and Noxus. And Viego's going to kill Senna, so Lucian dashes in, grabs her, and jumps the two off a cliff.
Oh, this
to
time
safety,
he saves her?
I guess. Yeah.
It's fine. He can swim.
Yeah, they're fine. They're
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
He falls off cliffs a
Senna
lot.
wants to go back, but Lucian's like, nah, we need help.
We need help from an unknown
None of these
figure.
people in this fucking cinematic, except for that one.
named Rookie.
From the Reborn Order.
I do like there's this moment in this cinematic where like Senna's getting the soul pulled out of her, the feather. That's what they're called.
Yeah. That's the
Yeah.
one.
And like it has this shot from like Lucian's perspective where it almost looks like he's considering not saving her so he can like kill some more wraiths. He's like, I got a farm. I'm sorry, support. I know you were just
What a
warding
vibe.
for me, but no.
The question mark pings her.
Someone
fuck are
surely
you
has
doing?
made
Don't
that
fight by
edit,
yourself.
right? Yeah. But aside from that, it's pretty good. This one's so hard to enjoy at this point because it's like all the promise just feels like
I
turns
know.
to ash in your mouth.
This is when we still had hope.
We
This
had
was before the event even started.
This was so exciting.
Yeah.
This cinematic. Yeah. Anyway.
I'm curious if this was for the 10 years.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I bet you that's it.
Oh, it might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got Before Dawn, where the Ruination is happening in Demacia. Rue and Shyvana's fighting Vayne when Senna and Lucian intervene. Lucian complained she's big, so Senna recommends shooting her twice. And then they win the fight and recruit Vayne into the Sentinels of Light.
Ba, 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 ba.
Give her a fly new fucking outfit.
Yeah, she gets some sweet new threads.
To sell that skin.
I love the idea. Okay, think about this. Urias at some point had to have come back just fucking, like, just drip, right? Like, just completely fucking swagged out. He's like, sorry, you can't get any of this. And he throws on his rose-tinted goggles and
They
fucking
like literally
strolls.
wear like gold outfits and shit and have these like sweet like gold line weapons. And he's like, no, Lucian, stay here in Demacia. Disgusted. Wants to be there.
Oh, man. Cool.
Although they didn't have Gwen making sweet clothes for him at that point.
That's
so who knows what
that's,
Oh,
a that's a
maybe.
fair point. You know what? That's insulting to Gwen that I forgot that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, Gwen.
Sorry,
Don't come for me.
And then last one of the canon ones is Absolution, which opens with Isolde monologuing about how shitty Viego is. Agreed. Then the Sentinel crew try to beat Viego, but he gets the drop on him, stabs Gwen, then grabs Senna and portals away, while Pantheon and the gang fight Lucian and crew. Viego pulls Isolde's soul from Gwen and Senna, killing them. Akshan shoots the reformed Isolde, reviving them. And they trap Viego, and Lucian and Senna get a big, good hug. It's worth noting that before Lucian runs up to hug Senna, he does not holster his guns. He drops them. So, again, that fucking casing's going to be loose again, Lucian. Take care of your guns.
Saw spiky your guns on the ground to hug your wife.
Spike him. Fuck you. Don't need these shits anymore. He just throws them.
Touchdown.
That's great. I would love it. Yeah, little chunks fly off in the background. Cool. Good shit, Lucian.
The other ones are Make History, which is a 2018 MSI trailer. Lucian's in it. And then Unstoppable, inspired by the true story of Double Lift, the Team Liquid AD carry and 5-time North American LCS champion.
Oh, shit.
Which features some of his career highlights, in this case, including being one shot after dashing into a Fed Victor as Lucian.
I feel like we've talked about this 3 times now. But it's still funny. Yeah. We've all done it.
Yeah. Why would they give him a dash if they didn't want you to dash forward towards the enemies?
I do love how much he zips around in his cinematics, I will say. He is constantly just... He's like Sonic the Hedgehog almost, man. He's just like a blue blur just all over the fucking place.
Do you remember when they were trying to rework Lucian and they thought it would be a good idea to put his dash on like a 2-second cooldown? How did it work? It worked Something to do with auto attacks, but you could dash every like 2 to 3 seconds, I think. That was not in the game for very long, I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure, yeah. I mean, doesn't it... It's been a minute since I played him, but doesn't it still reduce the E cooldown when you hit your passive auto? Or, like, hitting autos, doesn't it, like... Or is that the old shit?
I don't play him, so I need y'all.
Maybe it was just more aggressive, or maybe it was, like, something else.
I think it was really aggressive.
Oh, man. Wait, I'm trying to remember his original passive, too, so... Fuck.
It wasn't the double shot?
Yeah, right?
I'm trying to think. Was he the one who originally couldn't go... He started with half the attack speed of a normal AD carry, but any attack speed you built for him would count for double?
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that. It's very possible.
It was pre-release, I think. I don't think it made it out on the live, but I remember the play tests. Like, people were going full attack speed builds.
That's so funny.
It was fucking crazy.
six fucking when you could still stack items in 2013, so it must have been like 6 fucking Phantom Dancers.
6 shivs been there.
Right, like probably 6 hurricanes
6 bloody
at the time
swords.
or some shit. Yeah. Now, he's also part of a few comics. Steadfast Heart by Ian St. Martin, which is not going to go over all this again. If you're curious about this one, listen to the Ruination episode, because this is literally a retelling of the Ruination story. It's the same retelling that we got through the visual novel and the same retelling we got through various other places. It's just that again.
Yeah, Rise of the Sentinels Part 1. I believe we covered this.
Yeah. One thing that stood out to me, because we did mention there's a few differences between this and the other one. One that's relevant to Lucian is when he and Lucian originally fight in their, like, when they rescue Senna, it looks like when Thresh breaks the pistol in the cinematic, he knocks the stone out of the casing, right? So you just have, like, the sharp stone and you have a casing, so if you have to repair it, you kind of just, put the stone back in the casing.
It was like when your battery popped out of your phone when you dropped it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mom's gonna kill me.
In this one, Thresh straight up fucking shatters this gun. Like, just destroys it. And given the fact that, I mean, they kind of talked about how new relic weapon, I mean, obviously relic weapons are kind of passed down, which I think they also, I guess, just contradicted in a lot of the Ruination stuff anyway, with them, everyone getting a fancy weapon.
They happen to fucking have whatever.
That's why they needed Vayne. It wasn't that she was good at anything. She just had a crossbow, and they're like, we got one of those.
But, like, even Senna's gun was just, like, crafted with bits of other people's other Sentinels weapons that she had met and absorbed while she was in the Lantern. It's like, I don't think they have blacksmiths that work on Sentinel weapons anymore, so I don't know how the fuck they fixed that after the comic.
I don't know. That would be, you know what? If you were going to do this all right, that would be a great thing to get into, It could be kind of like 40K Imperium of Man. They don't know how to fucking make this shit anymore. So if you lose one ever, it's a huge fucking problem, right?
Yeah.
It'd be fun
They'll
to play
have to delete one of his guns in the game.
Yep. Sorry,
he just shoots once
tricks.
and then he just, like, shoots his fingers, but nothing.
His passive changes to single tap. It also... we talked about their relationship coming through more in cinematics and also through in-game quotes. This comic actually did a decent job. It did a much better job than the visual novel at dialogue between them. They seem much more like they still fight in this, like they still have the disagreements, but they're both way more likable in this, because they were both pretty unlikable in the visual novel.
Sure.
They were, yeah. But that's not canon, so who cares?
Yeah, not canon. And lastly, for comics, Fireside Frightener, where Darius, Draven, Jinx, Vi, Tristana, and Lucian all sync up to tell scary stories over a campfire.
And this one's canon, right?
This one's canon, for sure. Darius tells the tale of a battle between Karthus and Fiddlesticks. Jinx interrupts them, and Lucian's like, hey, cut it out. And then she starts hearing noises around the camp, and everyone tells her to cut the BS, because good old Jinx is fooling with us again. But then Lucian starts hearing it, too. And then right before the conclusion of the story, where we find out who would have won that fight. Surprise party fiddlestick erupts from the forest and interrupts the party.
Oh no.
Makes me think Fiddlesticks won. Otherwise, he wouldn't be around.
That's fair.
Cliffhanger
now
solved.
You're thinking with portals. Now the last bit is Lucian shows up in a few games. I mean, I'm counting the visual.
Is League of Legends
a game. and League of Legends. He shows up there.
On you on that one.
So he shows up in the Sentinels of Light visual novel, where he does such things as making a deal with Thresh and trusting him to keep his word.
Still can't get past that. I didn't look back at this shit because obviously we talked about it, but goddamn, even especially after reading all this, like that makes no fucking sense.
No fucking sense at all. Yeah.
Why did they think that would work?
And he also he doesn't show up in person in the Ruined King, but there's lore blurbs about him in the Ruined King.
Yeah.
So he's there in spirit, not in spirit as in he's dead. He's not dead. There's a lot of spirits in the Ruined King. I don't want there to be confusion.
That's a fair point.
All right. Now we've got some quotes.
Hit me with it.
There's a few references. We got a death at the door. No, I am the one who knocks. That's one of his quotes.
That's from Breaking Bad.
It's from Breaking Bad.
I think everyone probably knows that.
Reach for the sky, which could just be a normal shooty thing, but I choose to believe it's Woody from Toy Story.
With all the other millennial shit that's inside of Lucian, I believe
throw it in
this
there, right?
I'm a cowboy on a steel horse. It's Wanted Dead or Alive reference from Bon Jovi. And Hang 'em High.
Sorry.
Maybe a reference to that movie. Also, he's got one quote that says, "You pointing that pea shooter at me? Let's dance." Which I thought kind of funny because I feel like Lucian literally has the smallest gun in the game.
God, he might. Well, I mean...
Does he say that to, Caitlyn?
I was thinking of everyone with a gun. I was like, no, Jin's got a mat. Graves has a massive what? Tristana's got a massive...
It's not about the size of the gun, John, okay?
It does if you call it a pea shooter.
Fair.
Well, Gangplank used to just have a little Glock, so that might have maybe at one point. But I think you're right.
Maybe he only says it to Teemo.
Even Lucian, or even Senna.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
way bigger gun.
Senna has a gun the size of her body.
So they added a bunch. We mentioned now they re-recorded a bunch of stuff and added a bunch of VO when Senna came out. There are a few quotes that I feel like don't make as much sense anymore, but haven't been removed since Senna was released. Although here, let me reread.
Yeah, I'm curious because he has a lot, so I didn't see all of them.
Yeah. Well, you know what? No, I changed my mind.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I may have gone through the quotes before finishing all the stories, so I feel like some of them are relevant. There's a lot of saving her stuff that
it could still apply. Yeah.
But yeah, she's still cursed, so I guess it still applies.
Yeah.
I'll give you a pass on this one, Riot.
Yeah. Do you think that's why they wrote that in there? It's like we don't want to record all this fucking VO, man. Just make it something else that's threatening.
Although I do have a fun game real quick.
Okay.
And you might not be able to participate, Mark, depending on how much of the Lucian quotes you read.
Oh.
Okay. We'll see.
Is this another Jin or...
Yes, it is.
What were the options again?
It was Jin or Kale.
Oh, okay. Jin or Kale, that's right.
Today we're going to play Lucian or Kled.
No!
I ain't got time to die.
I'm going to say
I think that's
Lucian.
I think that's Lucian.
I'll go Lucian.
That's hard, though, because I know he says, I ain't got time to play games or something like that. Which is just funny, because he's in a game.
Yeah, I go Lucian.
I'm going to go Lucian, yeah.
The shot that doesn't
kill...
Now,
John, I was going to say this. Last time you went through all of them and then told us which one it was, and I never remembered what I had guessed. So could you do us a favor and just tell us right away if it was Lucian or Kled?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Just tell us now. Because I'm not going to remember the quote when you're like, the first one was this, the second one was that, and then I won't remember what I guessed for it.
Okay. All right.
Is it going to spoil the surprise when one of us gets blasted?
Lucian.
Okay.
Oh, they're all going to be Lucian.
Oh, is that?
Yeah. The shot that doesn't kill you sure makes you mad as hell.
I mean, I want to say Cled. He seems like someone who'd get mad as hell, and he's not going to take it anymore. Cled.
And he says a bad word. Does Lucian say bad words?
Yeah, he'd probably say hell. Say damn, I bet.
Yeah.
Crap.
I'll say Lucian.
That one is Lucian.
Fuck.
Okay.
If I'm going down, I'm taking all those bastards with me.
Cled
That's
again.
Lucian. This is the joke.
the joke.
They're all Lucian. I'm
I'll do
so
one more
sorry I
Cled.
ruined it.
It is Lucian. And you did kind of ruin
I'm
it
sorry,
by
I didn't
demanding
know.
that I tell you the name after every single one of them. But he does. Yeah, it was a fun joke.
I'm sorry, honey. You had to put your foot down more and be like, no.
There was no way I could have done that without you yelling at me. I could see it in your face. You were already...
That's true. I do yell at you all the time.
Turn red as a fucking bead over there. The steam's pouring out her ears.
I'm going to read a few more Lucian
Okay.
quotes that...
Do it in Cled's voice.
All right. I'm going to read all these in Cled's voice. I ain't got time to die. The shot that doesn't kill you sure makes you mad as hell. Reckon I could use a rest and a break from all the screaming. Gonna need more coffins. I don't do warning shots. Tough talk for worm food.
Oh, that's very Cled.
You one of them? Better kill you to be safe. Not too many problems a shot in the head can't fix.
Man,
Damn.
why is that? What's going on here? I feel like
Does he sound like Cled?
you found the Matrix somehow. Like you found like the code. I don't know, something's fucked up here. That's a nice observation. Because yeah,
That was issue 2 of This or That. So that's all I have for canon. And we've got some AU stuff, unless there's other stuff we want to cover for canon shit.
I think we got most of it. I mean,
I
like,
don't think so.
yeah, maybe at some point in the future, after we've done Senna and Thresh, I would be willing to go back and look at Rise of the Sentinels, but not this day.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's still too new.
Too fresh.
Too raw.
I sure as fuck remember what happened.
Right.
I had to read it 3 times and watch it
Yeah,
and interact with it.
most definitely.
All right, so first AU is Soccer Cup. Set in the world of football, where all the champions are either football players, judges, fans, or the soccer ball. This skin line was created to celebrate the FIFA World Cup.
This is the one that got him in trouble.
It is the one that got him in
I started
trouble.
laughing the moment you said it.
This one is Striker Lucian. Order United's designated striker, Lucian is an inhuman blur of grass clippings and finely honed muscle movements. He cuts through the other team like a hot knife through butter, securing goal after goal to the adoration of fans the world over. And as you alluded to, this one was... So Edgar Davids, who was the inspiration for this skin, won a lawsuit against Riot in Dutch court for using his likeness without his permission.
Yeah, I mean, they did. Like, they made
very
him.
clearly.
It's like it's not. Yeah, they didn't
is
have
why
to
he
do
won
that.
the lawsuit.
Yeah,
Yeah, not like not in any way some like homage thing. Like you said, it's absolutely. I mean, like you say, fucking won. It's just so crazy to me, man. That happened.
it's like you could have made him just look like a soccer dude. It didn't have to be that exact one.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was probably one of those ones that like came from a place of like, oh, this will be a sweet homage, but then like overlooked the fact that like, oh, we're making a lot of money off this dude's face.
Yeah, I don't think they're like
Yeah.
maliciously like, yeah, skew me.
No. And I'm sure they've learned their lesson, but
yeah.
honestly, like, I'm sure just about anyone would agree, like, oh yeah, you want to make like a video game character look like me? Hell yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
If they had just fucking asked.
Yeah, I remember this getting mentioned internally when they were talking about like, hey, here are the things we have to look out for. Like, this happened in case you weren't aware. Like, so that's why when you're I mean, I was a technical guy, so I'm just like, oh, none of that shit ever came up for me. But it was still interesting to see the object lessons that they had come away with from things like this.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Victorious, which are skins awarded for hitting gold or higher.
Oh, that's why I've never seen this one.
Oh, get fucked, Lucian
Now,
players.
these ones normally have catwalk-like Lucian, or normally have like those catwalk-like descriptions.
Oh, yeah.
This one was a little different, unfortunately.
Damn it.
Yeah. By the time Lucian was finished firing, the relic stones were fused into solid crystal by the heat of his righteousness, and the last dredge of mist was evaporating into the morning light.
That's kind of cool.
Boring.
All right, so let's do our version of what it should be.
I gotta see what it actually
Lucian
looks
struts, gold plating,
Right.
rattling loudly like thresh chains.
Sun reflecting off of his iridescent golden armor.
A purple crotch flap dangling down
You're a fucking bard.
to cover his genitalia. We're done.
Is this Willie Shakes in the room with me? Who is she?
like. Calm down, Cyrano de Bergerac. Like, come on.
Anyway, that's exactly what it looks like. You're welcome.
Wow. Wow. Well done. I love these skins.
Thank you. Hire me, Riot. I'll write skin descriptions for you.
Now I've got Heartseeker, which are their Valentine's Day skins. Behind Curtain 1, a dashing man with an adventurous plan. It seems he'll only agree to dinner by lantern light, but you can bet his intentions are pure. It's Lucian, here to sweep you off your feet and into the daring life of a Heartseeker.
He's got pinky ring in this.
That's how you know he's
Does have
fucking
pinky
swagged
ring.
out. That's how you know he's a player. This feels like, this is very, like, very date, like, match game or, like, date. Like, some sort of, like,
Definitely.
70s dating game.
What was that dating sim I caught you playing that one time, John?
Whoa.
Oh, the boyfriend dungeon?
A boyfriend. I came downstairs once and I just looked at John's screen. I was like, what are you playing?
Yeah, it's like it's kind of like a Hades style combat where you go into dungeons with swords, but the swords are also boys. Not all boys. It's called Boyfriend Dungeon, but you can shack up with whoever you want.
Sure.
And
It's just the new
each of
Xenoblade
the weapons
Chronicles.
can also turn into a person. You can only use them if you've bonded with the person. That's when they
what
feel
they're called.
comfortable letting you wield them.
They're
in
called
the-
All right.
kids. Dope. Is it fun? Would you recommend it?
Not particularly. I
Yeah, you didn't
had
play it very
recently
much.
played Hades, and if you're gonna have combat that's the same style as Hades, it's tough now because they fucking locked it in. The whole time I was like, oh, it's like Hades but worse.
Yeah, I feel that. Well, maybe I'll check it out.
All right.
Yeah, it's on Game Pass if that's any of
okay.
your if you guys are into dating sims and dungeon crawlers. Boyfriend Dungeon.
Smush 'em.
Anywho, Arcana.
This one's cool. I've never seen this one.
Yeah. High above Arcana, the archetypes, living patterns that shape reality itself, struggle to trace their vision upon the chaos below them. The archetypes recruit perceptive citizens of the world below to amplify their hidden patterns, and the more who magnify an archetype's pattern, the more the world reflects their grand design. And this Arcana skin line was inspired by the Major Arcana, like the 22 trump cards of a standard 78-card tarot pack.
Okay. Interesting.
This one's Arcana Lucian. Yeah. Lucian believes in balance, that no one archetype should have excessive influence on the world, with one gun amplifying patterns and the other canceling them out. Lucian maintains the world's fragile order within the new power vacuum, even as the likes of Tom Kench move to fill it.
It feels like a little like a Full Metal Alchemist to me. It's like, ooh, we got like the one arm of like creation and one arm of like destruction and shit. That's cool, though. I also don't see this ever in game. I'd be curious to see more of it.
Yeah.
It's a nice one. He's got so many good skins.
He
Every time I
does.
play Lucian, I'm like, I want to play something, but like Demacian Vice and High Noon both exist, so why would I choose anything else?
I love Demacia.
That's
I
literally
need more skins in this line so bad
please.
because they're so incredible.
Please, right?
Yeah.
So next up, Demacian Vice. Set in an alternate Demacia, it features champions in a style of 80s police flicks. Now, this one's Demacian Vice Lucian. Half man, half machine, and all justice. Detective Lucian Phoenix fights crime under the pastel palm trees of Demacia. Rebuilt out of polished chrome and gilded Piltovan carbon fiber following a fatal gunfight, This technological marvel dispenses vaporware vengeance as a neon beacon of law and order.
Fucking dope.
Yeah. And there's a cinematic associated with this, kind of. The Ultra Combo 2019 cinematic, which is the arcade cinematic. And at the end of it, these Lucian and Garen skins show up at the end with a Smash Brothers style "A New Challenger Approaches" screen. Also, if you haven't seen that cinematic, I mean, the cinematic is pretty cool, but like the music that goes along with it, like the Ultra Combo 2019 theme fucking slaps. Shit is so good.
I'll have to check it out.
Listen to it.
Yeah, and the cinematic is pretty cool. It's very anime.
Yeah. I want Riot to do a fucking, like, I want them to do like a twin stick shooter in this, with this aesthetic, with like Lucian. Like just a nice little, quick little game. I think would be tons of fun.
That would be good. Yeah. Next up, we have High Noon. The height of the Industrial Revolution, travelers begin pouring into the untamed West, searching for fortune and prosperity among the unknown horrors of cruel and ancient worlds. It is a time of brave gunslingers and rotten scoundrels, inscrutable gods, and savage demons. And this one is High Noon Lucian. A former federal marshal and gunslinger for hire, Lucian's soul was corrupted when he made a deal with the devil in order to spare the life of his one true love. Double-crossed and cursed with the powers of hell, he now hunts this devil across the high frontier, seeking revenge. Now, this one has several short stories. First of all, we've got The Man with the Grinning Shadow. Now, Lucian opens this story by murdering a mud monster in a moving train with a blast of hellfire, and it only gets cooler from there. It's also interesting, in this AU, Lucian almost plays the part of Senna, but instead of... But he's got, like, he's half demon instead of, like, being half undead. So throughout the story, he meets Urgot, who in this AU bartered and lost his heart in a game of cards with a demon. So now he's a monster made of train parts and steamwork.
Dope.
We learn how he and Senna, he as one of the best marshals in the land, and she as the best marshal in the land, hunted Thresh, and how they originally met at a bar fight. In this AU, though, Thresh is actually not just kind of like this underling who's scheming. Thresh is like more ancient than any of the old gods and way stronger.
Okay.
So he basically one-shots both of them super easily before they even see that he's there. And Lucian offers to trade his soul for Senna's life. Thresh accepts, corrupts his soul, and then murders Senna anyway for funsies.
Damn, son.
Yeah. So in the present, Lucian is trying to find Karthus because he heard in this AU he's a preacher who's known to be able to talk to the dead. So Lucian tries to find him because he wants to talk to Senna. But then it turns out Karthus was undead the whole time. Who could have seen that coming? And the whole town's undead, and Lucian had to embrace the demon within him to defeat them all.
A lot of hugging when it comes to Lucian. Just across this and the stories. A lot of hugging. Just fine.
Just a hugger, I love it.
And then we've got With Hell Before Them, which is the Ashe story. Lucian is not featured in this. He basically, at the very end, after Ashe unsuccessfully hunts Hecarim because Darius up and betrayed her, she goes to Angel's Roost to find Lucian to get him to help her hunt Hecarim instead.
Cool.
And we've got a cinematic for this, which I had completely forgotten about, called A New Devil's in Town. It is fucking cool. In terms of, like, skin cinematic reveals, probably one of the best. Because it uses, I mean, we talked about how all the Lucian cinematics are just higher quality animation than all the others. This, too. This is a skin reveal, and it's got the same quality animation as, like, the Ruination cinematics. It's real fucking good, and he looks so cool in it.
It must be expensive to make because this thing is fucking short. It's good for how short it is. I would love to see like 3 minutes of this and like fully realized.
See,
they got the good medicine on this one. So
I'm telling you right now, if Arcane Season 2 were set in the High Noon AU, I'd be fine with that.
My God.
I could go a whole nother season with that cliffhanger not resolved just to get a full season of High Noon shit.
I would actually
That would be real.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that, about another Arcane season being an AU instead. I think High Noon would probably be their best bet.
Oh, it'd be so good.
Do you think
It's
they
the
would?
most interesting for sure.
I agree. Do you think they would go with it though? Because I feel like
No.
they would go with like. What do you think?
No.
And we don't have to get into it here, but
Well, actually, I mean, if they did it, they might actually go with High Noon. I think
KDA.
Oh my god, please. No.
I think Project, that aesthetic might be a bit saturated.
Yeah,
especially
I wouldn't
on
want
Netflix.
to. I wouldn't
Yeah.
care about Project as much. I mean, I'd watch it, sure, but I wouldn't care as much. I think High Noon would stand out a lot more.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of cowboy shit on Netflix.
Yeah, especially not
Just
this
in
one.
general.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. Do it, Riot, please.
And like, and I have a very soft spot for like supernatural cowboy shit. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of just straight up westerns, although I do kind of like those too. But like supernatural westerns,
That is more fun.
Yeah, they're my jam. I even like the really shitty ones. I've enjoyed like Jonah Hex. Like,
It's such a strong like collaboration of like styles. I don't know, and I completely agree. I think it's fucking. I would.
yeah.
God, you're like, don't fill me with that idea because it's never gonna fucking happen.
Right.
Oh, right.
That's why Preacher's so
Never.
good.
It's never gonna happen. Oh,
yeah, absolutely agree.
All right, so next up we've got Pulsefire.
Jesus.
After unlocking the secrets of time travel, these champions are thrust into a far-flung dystopian future. While Chrono Enforcers relentlessly pursue them across time and space, a small few have escaped into history, taking their technology along for the ride. This one's Pulsefire Lucian. A dedicated Chrono Enforcer, Lucian joined the Remembrancers when he lost his wife Senna in an errant Praetorian attack. Now he searches for her while bringing justice to the reckless time travelers who would cavalierly tear holes in space-time.
They have her italicized.
I don't think so.
That's
Not this time. Then we've got Prestige, Pulsefire Lucian. Through his work in bringing their opponents to justice, Lucian earned the personal attention and gratitude of Thresh, leader of the Remembrancers. Armed with special modifications to his Pulsefire suit, Lucian embarks on his relentless pursuit across timelines. Relentless pursuit, I didn't know that the first time. Through it all, however, he can't shake the feeling that this upgrade isn't all it seems.
Oh, interesting. Is there any stories that follow up on any of that?
Not a lot about like his whole armor shit. But
I mean, like him
we
and
think-
Thresh, because I assume Thresh is like actually bad. He's just like he gave him some sort of weird upgrade thing, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the idea. I don't think there's follow-ups, although there probably will be at some point because they do release stories for this one.
Yeah.
This one has like a kind of cinematic called Systems Online, where we see Lucian's Pulsefire guns being manufactured in, I guess, some sort of Pulsefire lab. And then the short story, Out of Time, which is like the Ezreal story, which starts out right out the gate with him just being chased by Lucian and having to admit that, like, fuck, Lucian is way faster than I am. And he tries all of his tricks, but Lucian sees them coming. He's like, fuck, how did he see them coming? And then Lucian's all like, you're not going to get away this time. It's like, oh no, I fought this dude before, shit. So he gets cornered. Lucian breaks his nose, but he's able to time jump away. Lucian is also the one who shoots his time crystal, which is the whole reason why he needs to get Echo to help him make a new one and steal one from himself in the past. And then finally, we have Project. Among the megastructures and packed streets of a future controlled by global corporations, a shadow war rages between rebellious augmented humans and newly empowered artificial beings. The winners will shape the course of history, and the losers will be forced to evolve. This one is Project Lucian. Once a sentinel within the command line, Lucian has seen Project for what they truly are. His dual-ion core lightcaster pistols now serve Genetic and the human rebellion, bringing down their technological oppressors with brutal efficiency. And it's part of two cinematics here. The first one, you can just kind of see his gun. It's the Outsider cinematic. His gun is damaged on the ground at the opening of this cinematic as the camera kind of pans over a battlefield. The second one is Overdrive, where Fiora and Lucian rescue Master Yi from a project facility, and they're all attacked by Zed. This is like it's a pretty badass fight, honestly. And the whole cinematic in general is pretty cool. Zed continues to lend himself incredibly well to action cinematics. When we get to Zed, I feel like there's going to be like 15 cinematics where he's just fighting various people across Runeterra.
Yeah, throwing those
I was
fucking
like,
shurikens.
Off the top of my head last night, I was like, who the fuck has he fought in cinematic so far? I've got like Darius, Yasuo, Lucian, Fiora, Master Yi, Xayah, Rakan, and like probably more. That was just the ones I could immediately pull.
Yeah. You're not wrong. This is a really cool cinematic, though. I completely agree. The fight's really, really neat. It is pretty impressive how Zed, holds his own. But, he's got an army of clones. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. Can't count out those clones. So that's it for AUs. I've got some fun facts.
Lamb on me.
And then we'll be Lucianed out. We mentioned it originally voiced by Patrick Seitz. And after Senna's release, was revoiced by TJ Storm.
They had a white guy voice him at first.
Yeah.
And that's why they changed it.
Did you know that Patrick Seitz guy is Garrosh Hellscream and Arthas from Warcraft?
Oh my god, I didn't.
Yeah, apparently.
You said a bunch of words that didn't mean anything to me.
He's done a million things. That TJ Storm guy does a lot of stonework too. I was just looking to see. I'm curious to see what these different people do, and it's interesting to see what people dip into. So.
Lucian's title during production was the Gun Templar, which another Equilibrium reference. And in the Polish localization, that's actually how it was released too.
Oh shit! It's pretty cool. That's very that makes me think. Yeah, very Warhammery. Oh, get the fucking Gun Templar out here and shit.
Lucian's was the first login screen to start with an animated sequence, with his, wife Senna's soul being dragged into Thresh's lantern.
A very different looking Senna.
It was a very different.
It doesn't look
Senna.
anything like Senna.
Yeah, the vague
I like
idea.
the new design.
Yeah.
The Cullen used to be the first ability in the game to directly scale with attack speed. That all changed in the patch 5.22. But it also is the first that allowed for firing backwards while moving.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Lucian's dance is a reference to Revolver Ocelot's gun spinning from Metal Gear.
Dope.
Lucian was the first champion to ever get a chroma pack for his classic skin. Which I feel like I distinctly remember because I loved Blucian.
Yep.
That was my go-to skin.
I think that sold that chroma pack was Blucian.
Yeah.
So.
It looked real good.
Yeah.
Let's see. Of Lucian's guns, the less ornate one is his, the one with the L engraved on the side, and the more intricate one was Senna's, which has an S instead, and the letters were at first thought to mean light and shadow.
Cute.
Lucian and Zed perform the Naruto run when they have very high movement speed.
It's very important.
If Senna and Thresh are played on opposing teams, a quest will trigger for Lucian as well. This in-game quest consists of a battle himself versus Thresh to earn the opposing champion's stack of souls. So essentially, like if Senna kills Lucian, she'll get whatever souls he's collected for the passive, and vice versa for her souls. If Thresh kills Lucian, Thresh will also get Senna's souls.
That's man, I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't feel like I've encountered that before. Maybe I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Weird.
Hired Gun Lucian, his recall references Morpheus, while he himself references the twins, both from Matrix.
Oh, yeah. Dope.
Let's see. So we talked in the Leona episode about the description that Project Master Yi gave to Project Leona. Project Master Yi has another crazy description for Lucian. Piercing flame, he cast in light. I see his vision, free from shadow, a blazing melody. Beyond the light, nothing. Purity, bound in fury. His aim remains true.
Okay.
Neat. Yeah,
Master Yi high as fuck in the project.
I like that idea. It's a neat thing to have a character like how they're seeing things and perceiving things. I guess. Neat.
Yeah. And speaking of Blizzard, High Noon Thresh, very strong resemblance to basically a cowboy version of Alexei Stukov from StarCraft.
I don't remember. I'm sorry. I know.
That's right. He gets turned into a Zerg. He's kind of like the Russian battle cruiser captain who goes like half Zerg and helps Kerrigan.
Okay.
But yeah, he's got the whole half of the body thing that Lucian's got going on too.
Interesting.
And finally, Demacian Vice Lucian's recall is a reference to the epic split done by Jean-Claude Van Damme in that car commercial.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I don't.
Oh, you've never seen that?
No, it's okay.
You see a close-up of him, and the camera like slowly pans out, and he like starts sinking into a split, and you realize he's got like 1 foot on one car here and 1 foot on another car, and the cars are slowly pulling apart.
I think I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah. Now that you're describing it,
Yeah.
All right.
That's Lucian.
Yeah. That's Lucian.
Yeah.
We did it. Congrats, everybody. I'm going to wrap up quickly because our baby is hitting me right in the bladder.
Oh, sure.
She has been for several minutes.
I'm just going to say,
okay,
I really liked it. There was like, Lucian has a lot of lore.
Yeah.
And I think like he has a higher number of quality stories than probably most other champions.
Yeah.
I think like we talk a lot about like slight improvements we could make and like tweaks, but like in general, I feel like Lucian's stories are at a higher caliber than most others.
Yeah, I think they've staked him out as like, oh, he's a big protagonist, so we'll give him a little love. You know, they're in his corner.
Yeah,
which is good for him.
Yeah,
and I agree. More
thought out than a lot of others for sure. Okay, thank you for listening. We have a Twitter. It's at Loreheads, and we're also on Twitch. Loreheads, or is it just Loreheads? Yeah, God, I don't know why. Twitch.tv/Loreheads. We stream 2 nights a week. We'll play League on Saturdays. John does TFT on Mondays. We also have a YouTube. We post these episodes there, and we have some parody songs, and we have a Discord. The link is in the description of this episode. And we have a Patreon. Thank you to all of our patrons.
And a special thank you to our Medarda tier patrons, Jeremy Rich, King of Hearts, and Mylect. You were all awesome, and if your souls were stuck in a lantern, I would rescue you.
Aww.
Would you eventually learn to like get over your sense of vengeance and to let them go? Like if you let them go.
And then have that revelation like 3 or 4 times.
Get really hammered.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all part of it's the hero's journey.
Okay, and join us next week because we're finally going to be talking about one of my mains, the Fey sorceress Lulu.
And they say I have a grim sense of humor.